Alrighty, UFC Fight Night Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy just took place, and I'm here to give you my breakdown of the card. If you're curious why I'm doing this, I do this purely based off passion. I do picks and predictions every single week on every single fight card. Now, you guys smell that? God. It's another fight night. Jesus Christ. God, this was horrible. This was probably the worst card of the year. I don't think it gets much worse than this. I'm gonna keep it a buck. There's a few, like, standouts, I guess we'll say, but other than that, oh my god, this card was so bad. Jesus Christ. Something about those England main events, you know? They're starting to curse curse the sport, just saying. You know, Lerone Murphy, we'll get into it, but, yeah. I'll have my full score at the bottom, my card score, how I did on predictions. I believe I went positive. I'll have to double check once I finish this video. I believe I went positive. Really sucks. Real quick, we'll get into some sad parts. You know, Davy Grant, the fight fell out. Don't know what happened. Fuck, I would have been, man. If Davy Grant just stayed, would have been such a better card. And then there was Kennedy Nzechukwu, which I was pretty high on. So I got a little rocky towards the end in terms of predictions. But, you know, those two fights fell out within a couple days. I literally didn't know the Kennedy fight was out till fucking the card started. And I was like, wait, I have to watch 3 women's fights spaced out? Like, are you kidding me? I can't just go take a shit, make my flatbread, you know, get my nachos ready. I have to fucking sit here and actually wait to watch the ending of a women's fight and then go get my shit and then fucking wait for another women's fight. And oh my, it's just, UFC, what are we doing? If we're gonna have women's fight, make them the openers, make them the first like 2-3 fights, get them out of the way. Nobody fucking cares about their division. Nobody cares to watch them fight. They're all dog shit. Let's just be honest. Anyways, let's get into the card. Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita. So if you don't know, I have this high-tech method of picking my women's fights. And, yeah, it's a fucking coin flip. The coin went 2-1 this card, you know? Take that for what it's worth. So far, I think the coin has only had 1 negative card. You know, so I'm just saying, you know, if you're trying to apply logic and shit to these women fights, don't, okay? You're better off literally flipping a fucking coin. Maybe I'll do a video at the end of the year just showcasing how dog shit these fights are because a coin is actually out predicting, like favorites or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something fun with that. But yeah, the coin has spoken and it picked Talita. And Talita won this fight because Vanessa just sucked. I only saw the tail end of round 3. I'm not going to lie to you. I was taking a fat shit, I think I was taking a shit. Either that or I was getting a cookie. Nice soft bread. They have like these Minecraft ones at my local Walmart. You know, grandmother thought she could try it out. You know, they had, I think, a chocolate icing variant, and then they had a green icing variant. They're both pretty good. I think they're shortbread. They were very soft. Very good cookies. Very good indeed. Don't know why I went with Trump there, as I'm Canadian, but oh well. Anyways, moving on. Martin Buday versus Urin this guy. So, this guy was 9-0 before this fight. Oh my god, man. Heavyweight is just shit. Yeah, the bro just got cut, to be honest with you. Other than him getting cut, it was fairly competitive. I don't think these strikes are accurate. 142? Like, what the fuck are we doing with these striking numbers? I swear these numbers are getting worse and worse. There's no way Martin Buday landed 142 strikes. The fight was relatively close, to be fair. Both fighters looked like dog shit. This was a day notice for Uran. So, obviously, that's a contributor, I guess. But both of them are dog shit. None of them will be anything at heavyweight. Martin Buday is just going to keep on bottom feeding in this division. You know, he's a little bit like a gaping dragon, if you played Dark Souls, if you know what I mean. Like, he's a little bit of that bottom feeder of the higher echelon of the division. You know, just because heavyweight's, you know, the heaviest weight division, if you get what I mean. But, dog shit fight, horrible fight. Every round sucked. Bell to bell, it was just painful to watch. Moving on, Victor Henry versus Pedro Balcao. I didn't predict this fight. Apologies, guys. You know, I just don't have the time to predict a short notice heavyweight fight, less than 24 hours, you know, of a debut heavyweight, 9-0 guy who shows up at 225 for heavyweight. Just cut 10 pounds, brother. Like, are we serious? Actually, I guess it would be 20 pounds. Like, brother, are we serious? Just disappointing. And then Martin Bidet showing up fucking literally looking like just an average dad, I guess. Like, Martin, like, when you picture dad bod and you see those memes of, like, Nolan from, like, Invincible, you know? Or, like Conquest or something from Invincible, some chads. A real dad bod is just what Martin Bidet has. I think we can be honest. That's a dad bod. Anyways, moving on. Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao. Victor Henry had a stellar performance. I predicted it pretty well. He's a little bit of a decision. One of these old guys who's a little bit of a decision guy. You know, like the Davy Grants. They're just tough as shit. You know, you have to flatline them to get them out of there. Falcao had... It's like Falcao had strength. But he didn't have anything else. Like, there's no striking technique. There's no head movement. And he wanted to grapple. Like, he got knocked down early from a 37-year-old man. And he just sort of accepted bottom until, you know, he got up after a minute of getting his ass kicked. Literally, his ass was being kicked by Victor Henry. And then other than that, there was, like one moment that he had success on the feet, maybe, in round one. He had the back at some point. Did he even have the back? I don't even think he had the back. I think he had, like, a weird side control moment where, like, Victor Henry was almost giving up the back when they were close against the cage, but yeah, I thought it was a clear 3-0 Victor Henry. I think some people were saying it was, like, close, but yeah, I had a 3-0 Victor Henry. Moving on, I guess except for, I don't think it was the last round. Definitely wasn't the first round. Maybe it was the second round. I think there was one round where I was like, okay, Falcao could win that round, but I think it was clear. Victor 3-0, 2-1. You know, moving on, Loma Lookboonmee versus Estela Nunes. Estela's going to get cut. She's now 6-6. I think that's 4 fights in a row of losing. She didn't look too bad in round 1 and 2. She just, at the end of the day, got laid on by Loma Lookboonmee. Minus 1,000, are we? Loma Lookboonmee? Yeah. Women's fights. Was that a minus 1,000 fighter? No, it was dog shit. Just a terrible fight. Moving on, we have Rhys McKee versus Daniel Frunza. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, you thought Skeletor was going to lose this? Come on, guys. I picked Rhys McKee. It was a little risky. I knew it was a little risky. He was an underdog. He hasn't won in the UFC. He's had 4 fights. Hasn't won in the UFC. But they weren't to killers, to be fair. Or, like, tough outings. You know, you had Khamzat Chimaev, Alex Morono. What was the other one? Ange Loosa. You know, with Khamzat Chimaev, it's Khamzat. With Ange Loosa, he's a tough striker, and Rhys was having success, you know, made it to the decision. I wasn't worried about him getting chinned in this fight. And then you had Alex Morono, which, more than anything, Alex Morono is one of the toughest guys in welterweight, you know, and I think that's inarguable. And he's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. Other than that, he's just a tough son of a bitch, so it's hard to get him out. Rhys McKee definitely was taking damage in this fight, but he was whooping Frunza, and Frunza just had, I guess, 1 billion fucking damage in his last fight because his face was just opening up after every strike from Rhys McKee. So Rhys McKee gets it done. He fights a lot like, he's almost like if Dan Hooker had an older, dumber brother, if that makes sense, if you get what I mean, you know? He fights very chin up. He fights very, you know, long, lengthy. He fights with a reach, you know? Yeah, he just put a whooping. It was a little close, but if you look at the fight, like, Rhys McKee was just whooping Daniel Frunza. But Frunza was starting to get a little bit of success. Fraud checked Frunza. I'm glad I went with Rhys McKee, man, because this was, like, a definite... I think a lot of people were going with Frunza just because Rhys McKee, like, sucks. Because he's fought 4 times in the UFC and almost lost every single one. But, you know... At the end of the day, this kind of showcases my growth as being a fan, you know? Over the course of these 3 years, I've been battle testing myself through predictions, and it all came down to this one moment where I picked the one guy that no one thought was going to win, because he's lost every single fucking fight in the UFC, and he finally gets his one win. I picked it, you know? Just saying. Yeah, and I didn't even do research on the Daniel Frunze dude. I just knew he wasn't that good from highlights and other things, but, you know, like, Reese McKee isn't bad, and he's kind of tough. He's young, too, you know? Like, there's room for improvements for Reese McKee, and that's what I thought was going to be the difference maker in this fight. It definitely was, you know? Reese McKee came in there. You know, Daniel Frunze was saying, like, he hits harder, and Reese McKee's never fought a guy with his power. I'd say Hamzat hits pretty fucking hard. I wouldn't say Hamzat's like a fucking Alex Pereira, you know what I mean? But Hamzat hits hard, you know? So, yeah, Daniel Frunze gets fraud checked, and I got my prediction right. Moving on, we have Diana Belbita versus Diana Barbosa. I went with Barbosa, aka the coin went with Barbosa. The coin never fails, you know? And, yeah, she gets it done in first round submission. No one cares. She was a minus 1,000 favorite. Who gives a fuck? Moving on, Torres Finney versus Robert Valentin. This fight was way closer than I think a lot of... Wow. I did not realize the striking was that big of a difference. Now, these numbers typically get it wrong, but... Wow, Jesus Christ. Round 1 I thought was pretty close, but was kind of clear Finney. Round 2 and round 3, I thought there was decent arguments for Robert Valentine, but we all know judges just jerk off to any control time. You know, they just love that shit. Oh, man, they're just fucking stroking their shit once they see a minute of control time rack up, you know? That's an instant lock, especially on a favorite fighter. Buddy, you better believe they're giving that round to Torres Finney. What I will say, mega disappointment. Torres Finney, little nugget of a man, 5'8". Some people are saying he's not actually 5'8". He's not going to look 5'. He looks 5'8" in there, you know? I'm pretty much a muscle nugget myself. But I'm pretty fucking disappointed, you know? 10-0 guy, looks like he's on roids. I think he has, I want to say 5 knockouts, 8 knockouts, something like that. And he goes in against a guy who just got finished in round 1, isn't known for a great chin, is known to throw hands, to be fair. But he does that, you know? And at the end of the day, Torres Finney is 5'8". No, I do think Torres Finney is going to have a lot of problems if he stays in middleweight. And I know he's, like, juiced to the gills and everything. Maybe he's not juiced in terms of, like, on that Tropicana. But he's definitely on something, you know what I mean? But he's going to have problems, you know? Because Joaquin Buckley, 5'8", he's one of the best welterweights on the planet right now. You know? And I had my doubts about Joaquin Buckley, but he's fucking good. But Torres Finney, this guy does not fight like he's gonna be good in middleweight if he was on the same par in terms of, like, size, you know what I mean? And everyone at middleweight is, like, 6 or above, like 6 foot or above. He's gonna run into some problems with any rangy guy who can stuff a takedown. And the thing with Torres Finney, takedowns aren't even that good. They're very Chandler-esque in terms of he'll just pick you up and dunk you. He'll get tired afterwards and probably won't throw. So, if you're getting out-damaged, you know, with an active guy on the ground, like, Shara Bullet might actually give this guy fucking problems, you know? Because even if he takes down Shara will just throw on bottom. You know, Torres Finney's looking like a little bit stronger Bruno Silva in terms of style. Because Bruno Silva will just lay on top and do nothing when he wrestles. And Torres Finney, he kind of just does that, man. And it's not even like he lays on top. He just buries his head into your stomach, making it look a little sus from certain positions, while being half on top. And, like, Valentine was just sitting on his ass, to be fair. You know? Like, he was just sitting on his ass against the cage, not really exerting too much energy. And Finney just buried his fucking head right into his crotch. From certain angles, you know, John Jones might be getting a little too excited watching the fight. You know what I mean? So, a little sus. Not gonna lie, a little sus. But, Torres Finney gets it done. I thought Valentine had a... Yo, Bates as fuck judge who gave Valentine fucking 30-27. You know? That was a sick scorecard. I'm happy to see at least one judge has, like, brain cells. Now, a 30-27's wild. But if you would have done a 29-28, yeah, you know, probably would have got away with it too. If it wasn't for these meddling Torres Finneys. But, you know, yeah. I thought Torres Finney kind of won. Like, I thought it was a fair decision. I'm not going to argue. It was, like, bullshit. Obviously, I picked him. But I was worried because Torres is a debut. Middleweights are shit. You have to be, like, semi-good. And he's short as fuck. A lot of problems with Finney. I'm not, like, too excited for him. Let's just say that. Like, yeah, like, Shara Bullet could probably, like, Bruno, like, does he beat Bruno Silva? Does he beat Brad Tavares? You know? Like, I know he's juiced, but, like, he's not good, you know? But, yeah, anyways, moving on. Pretty shit fight, by the way. Terrible fight. You know, I'm so tired of these fucking boring grapplers who just lay on opponents, and then they're laying on them, and then they win because they got hit in the face 30 fucking times by their opponent each round. But because they were laying on them, they win the fight. I guess how that's how fighting works, I guess. Moving on. Ode Osbourne versus Luis Gurule. Yeah, Luis sucks. It didn't look like his technique was necessarily bad. He left his chin open. Ode Osbourne, I even mentioned it. He does sit down on punches. He is kind of dangerous, you know, but all flyweights are good at the end of the day. I just thought because he couldn't finish fucking Ronaldo Rodriguez, well, he technically almost, you know, watching that fight back, especially the highlights, you see the ref, like, about to stop the fight. Ronaldo got saved as fuck. But, yeah, Ode Osbourne, not that good. Didn't learn anything from this fight. I thought he was losing a round. I think it was around 2 KO. I thought he lost round 1. Luis didn't look too bad. The thing with Luis, though, the thing with flyweight is that you have to be fast, you have to have hands, you have to have good striking defense, and you have to have great takedown defense or be a good grappler. You have to have all 5 of those things, or mainly 4, but you have to have at least 4 of the 5, you know? Luis Gurule is not fast with his hands, and he doesn't seem all that dangerous, and that, I think, is the problem in terms of flyweight. You know, he's a little Gaston Bolaños, if you know what I mean. Like, he is just kind of slow. He will throw, and he is committing with the throw, don't get me wrong, but it is, like, when he does a body kick, most flyweights are going to be able, and I didn't watch any of his fights before this shit. It's a fucking debut. I don't give a fuck about these debuts. Straight up. Alright, I'm a UFC fan. I'll see what your fucking worth is in the UFC. I don't give a fuck what happens on the Contender Series. Unless it's like a sick highlight, maybe I'll care. I don't give a fuck about your road to UFC garbage. I don't give a fuck about your amateur career. Unless there's names I care about. But, yeah, Ode Osbourne, yeah, he just knocked out Luis. He is just like fucking drool over here. Just fucking does just drool in front of his opponent, you know? When he throws a body kick, when he throws a leg kick, when he's throwing a hook, you know? They're very reactable. They're very... It's almost like when you see, like, a tractor coming your way. You know, like, most flyweights, they're like a fucking Lamborghini on the fucking highway. No cops, dead at night, and you just see them zoom by. They're fast as fuck. Joshua Van, you know, not Kevin Borjas. I mean, Kevin Borjas is up there in terms of speed, but, you know, like, even Steve Urseg, Brandon Royval, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're fast as fuck. Luis Gurule is kind of like a tractor going at, like, half speed, going down a fucking middle of nowhere road. It's like, if you get hit by that, you kind of deserve to die. You know what I mean? Or be hospitalized, you know? It's just like, brother, you see it coming, you know what I mean? And pretty much in round 1, I noticed his speed, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be rough, isn't it? You know, I was a little worried that Ode Osbourne might keep his career. He keeps his career. He's not like a not fun dude. He does suck. Don't get it twisted. He is ass. But he keeps his career, I guess. Probably goes on another 2-3 fight losing streak and then gets cut. Is what it is. Moving on, we have Brad Tavares versus GM3, baby. They robbed my boy. It is what it is. I went GM3. You know, I thought he'd be able to work in a submission. I thought he'd get a decision going. But unfortunately, they robbed him. To be fair, round 1 was close. I know a lot of people were, like, joking, you know, in live chats that I was roaming around in, that GM3 won round 1, but round 1 was genuinely close. You know, Brad landed a few times on GM3's chin. It didn't really hurt GM3 in round 1, and that's normally GM3's weakest round, you know? And even on numbers-wise, like, numbers are not far off, you know what I mean? Like, there's a decent argument GM3 actually won this fight and they robbed him. Round 3, I think, was clear GM3. Round 2, I thought was clear Brad Tavares. Mainly because of the stumbles and the wobbles. But it's not like... Bro, Brad sucks. I fucking hate this guy. Brad Tavares is like my... He's my Torres Finney, you know? I just fucking hate this guy. He never tries to go for a finish. He's always behind in rounds and just somehow flukes a round win. Because he's, like, wobbling a chinny opponent. He's so fucking boring in striking. He's always on the back foot. Doesn't try to finish a fight. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll raise his hands at the end of rounds where it's, like, very close and you're just trying to, like, pity a round. It's just, like, fuck Brad Tavares, man. Fuck this dude. I hate this guy. Hate watching him. Hope he loses the next fight. He's only getting older. I hope he gets chinned. Fuck this dude. Moving on, Cortavius Ramos versus Lee Chang-ho. I went with Cortavius. I got this one wrong. And, yeah, there's not much we can do with Cortavius anymore. I thought it was, like, maybe debut jitters. I thought maybe, you know, Cortavius is going to smarten up, make a little bit more smarter decisions, you know. And striking's not too bad. I thought he'd be able to compete, which, to be fair, he did. When it was stand-up, but as soon as we got to the ground, it's like, Cortavius, what are we doing, brother? You know? We're pulling Americanas to get on bottom? What are we doing? Like, seriously. You know? Like, just some of the worst decision-makings I've seen from a grappler in this fight, and it's just fucking horrible to see. Like, Cortavius, brother. There's so many moments where it's like, oh, he almost has top position here. I think it was at the end of round... Was it at the end of round 1 where it's like, yeah, it was at the end of round 1 where he was on top position and then he gave up like a weird scramble and it's literally like he let Lee Chang almost get top position again, you know? But Cortavius is like a young guy, you can improve, but at bantamweight it's like, man, his last fight he got outworked by Gaston Bolaños, which is not known for a guy who outworks guys, you know? And in this fight, he just showcased horrible decision-making. Like, what do we do in his next fight? You know what I mean? Like, bad decision-making and gets outworked. You know what? Bantamweight, who the fuck do you give him? You know? Like, it's rough for Cortavius right now. There's no fight that I can think he'd be even close to a favorite or even a pick'em at this point. You know? Like, you could give him Kevin fucking Borjas moving up a weight division, and I'd still probably pick Kevin Borjas over fucking Cortavius. It's just, man. Like, brother, you have to show something in your fight. But it's just like, we're pulling guard for Americanas in 2025. Disgraceful performance from Cortavius, but it is what it is. Moving on, we have Pat Sabatini versus Joe Anderson Brito. Fuck this Pat Sabatini, dude. Listen, before we get into it, my take was... Sorry, I have a mustache now, and I've been enjoying my mustache, so I might be fucking around with my upper lip a lot. Can't really see it, because, you know, I'm a little ginger on the beard, as well as the hair. Shout out to all my gingers. Anyways, the real gingers, you know? Don't worry, I won't hard R you guys. Anyways. It was either Joe Anderson Brito was going to land one punch, knock out Pat Sabatini, or Pat Sabatini was going to get takedowns and get a submission. And I'm disappointed to announce... fuck both of these fighters. I'll probably never be excited for either of their fights ever again. You know, with Pat, it was at least like, okay, you know, maybe he'll get wobbled or something and then go for like a sick sort of submission. You know, slick submission. He's got that BJJ. With Joe Anderson, it's like, okay, maybe he gets taken down, but at least, you know, at the beginning of a round, he'll try to get a knockout again. This was literally... This was determined by the first thing that Joe Anderson did, and it was throw a fucking body kick in the first minute of round 1. In the first 30 seconds, you're against a dangerous grappler who, the narrative is, regardless of what your plan is and whatever, the narrative is, if Pat Sabatini gets a hold of you, you're in for a rough night. So don't let him get a hold of you. So what do? Well, you know, as a striker... You either want to keep your distance, make sure you don't get backed up against the cage, and keep those hands flowing, stuff the takedowns, react to a takedown, maybe try to get them fainting a little bit, maybe see that shooting, go for a knee up the middle, front kick, get them guessing, get these grapplers guessing a lot, when you've been knocked out by Damon fucking Jackson, alright? Damon Jackson fucking knocked this guy out, alright? Anyone can knock this guy out. That means Hernandez can knock him out. That means fucking... Buddy, even at featherweight, like, you could get Ode Osborne to knock this guy out. You know what I mean? Like, anyone's knocking out Pat Sabatini if they just land, right? So what does Brito do? He shoots a fucking... Or he goes for a body kick. The one thing you don't do against a grappler, because they can scoop up your leg and get a takedown... He goes for a fucking body kick, gets taken down, and is laid on for a shit-you-not 14 minutes of this fight. Each beginning of the round, it was almost the same thing. It wasn't like, okay, we maybe we fucked up that round. Okay, now we gotta clean it up. Now is where we start using the IQ. Now is where we start threatening the knees up the middle, the front kicks, the overhand rights. It was literally just, oh, Pat Sabatini shooting a takedown on me? Let me pull guillotine. What are we doing, Brito? How did you beat Diego Lopez? How? Like, how? On the regional scene. Or the, whatever the fuck, the amateur career. How the fuck did that ever happen? Insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, Joe Anderson, Brito, all aura is gone. I kind of knew I was fucked because I saw Pat Sabatini and they were focusing the camera in, like, in the beginning of the event. And, man, he exuded some aura. But, wow, that performance lost all fucking aura from Pat Sabatini, in my opinion. Holy shit, that was fucking boring. One of the most boring grappling matches I've ever seen. Genuinely. Pat Sabatini just fucking locks himself on bottom, doesn't try to go for a submission other than failed fucking Von Flus that were nowhere near getting in. Just disappointing from both, to be honest with you. And moving on to the main event. Full transparency, I did do a little bit of gambling. I went Josh Emmett inside the distance, decision, no action. If you don't know what that means, basically, it was just Josh Emmett wins inside the distance. And if he doesn't win inside the distance and it goes to decision, aka Lerone or Josh Emmett win by decision, I get my money back. If you're wondering why I gambled on it, I just thought it's free money, pretty much. Either Josh Emmett gets a KO, or I get my money back. Because Josh Emmett's not getting finished. And Lerone is kind of chinny. Got dropped in his last fight. And, listen. I'm a Josh Emmett fan. His losses, in hindsight, are pretty good fucking losses. Jeremy Stevenson by KO. Hardest hitting 145er, eh? And then, Yair Rodriguez in an interim title fight. That's not a bad look. We now know Yair Soy, but not a bad look. And then they lost to Ilya Taporia. And then there's another one that was like unranked, but that's like 10 years ago. Who gives a fuck? Like Gabriel Green, some Gabriel something Green, something like that. But yeah, now you got Lerone on your record, unfortunately, because this went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. It was gonna be Lerone tapping at range. And I know there were some people like Running Mouth MMA, full respect to all these YouTube channels that do picks and predictions and put it all out there. But I know there's a few people like, oh, this is so perfect for Josh Emmett. He's going to land that overhand right. Listen, I've been there, all right? Oh, this guy got knocked down in his last fight. This guy's chinny. He sucks. He's going to get KO'd. I've been there. But I've learned to realize that sometimes the boring fighter, the Leon Edwards 0.5s, 2.0s, however you want to rate Lerone Murphy, they are just going to win by a boring decision. The Ankalaevs, they will just win by boring decision, and they'll make it boring. That's just how the world works, For every Ilya Taporia Volkanovski, for every Ilya Taporia Max Holloway, for every Max Holloway Justin Gaethje, for every Dustin Poirier Dan Hooker, there will always be the Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphys. There will always be the Ankalaev versus Pereiras. It's just a sad state of reality, It sucks as an MMA fan in these dying times, but yeah, Lerone, this was literally just how I said it was going to go. Pretty much anyone on Lerone's side said it was going to go. There's going to be Lerone tapping at range, Josh Emmett throwing one strike at a time, being behind on rounds, either because there was too much visible damage, or because the long layoff is taking an effect, and Josh Emmett's just not as young and spry and able to really land that overhand right, you know? He wasn't getting close enough to Lerone Murphy to land it, you know? And there was times where it's like, okay, he's against the fence, you hurt Lerone, go in for it now. Don't know what happened. Round 1, Josh Emmett was actually having success in the striking. He just got cut. I give it to Lerone Murphy. Round 2, Josh Emmett's shooting fucking takedowns after having success on the feet. Why? Why now, of all times, are you deciding to shoot takedowns? You know? Like, you're coming off a win. This is your title run. Why are we shooting takedowns when you're winning striking exchanges? You have the respect on the feet, you know? Lerone is biting every time you're going for that right. And then in the 5th, you're pointing at the ground like you're doing something. Like, come on, brother. Clean it up, my nugget lumberjack, you know? It's sad. It really is sad, because it's like, man, I wanted Lerone to get knocked out so bad, even though I picked Lerone to win this fight. Because it is just like... Bro, at some point, someone's chinning Lerone. This guy's about to be 34. He sucks. Stand-up's not that good. Like, the best part about Lerone is that he'll get scrappy when he needs to scrap. You know? Like, he won't be a victim when he's against the cage. Like, hands up, like a Brad Tavares, if you will. Hands up, not responding to strikes. And just waiting for a TKO to happen. He will, like, Pereira or, like... Edwards his way out of the cage area, like Neil Magny, if you will, out of his way out of the cage, but he's got nothing to offer, you know? The amount of body kicks he landed on Josh Emmett, if you let anyone do that to Josh Emmett, they're probably finishing Josh Emmett, you know? Lerone just couldn't, you know? It's just, it's sad, it's disappointing. This is the state of the sport. It is what it is. Overall, terrible fucking card. This card sucked ass. Hopefully 314's better, you know? I'll probably do my breakdown pretty soon. There's a few sways, you know? I've been swayed on a few of these fights. I might be swapping my picks on some of these fights. But, yeah, I'm excited for 314. That was my breakdown of UFC Emmett versus Murphy. Thought it was a dog shit fight card. Very disappointing overall. I probably put my score in the bottom right below the screen so you can see that out. Positive, again, we're still in the win column. I think this year I've only had 2 negative cards. We're 4 months in. It's not too bad, lads. I'm going to be the GOAT predictor of this year, alright? The coin will save me on the fights that are dog shit. And other than that, you know, it's not you know, I'm getting good at predicting, you know? I predicted the main event perfectly. I predicted Reese McKee perfectly, you know? Getting good at this shit. So, yeah. If you made it to all the way to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have jawline check. Ooh, that's a nice jawline. A good day.